Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. This week's episode is with the voice of the Philadelphia 76ers, Kate Scott. To call Kate a trailblazer would be an understatement. Kate is the only woman play-by-play announcer to call NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA Division I football, the Olympics, and the FIFA World Cup. She also recently became the first female play-by-play announcer to call an NFL regular season game for WestwoodOne Radio when she called the Minnesota-Pittsburgh game in Dublin, Ireland back in September. Kate is also the first woman play-by-play announcer for Madden NFL 25, so that's a lot of firsts for Kate. I first met Kate when she moderated a panel discussion about Kobe that I participated in outside his hometown near Philadelphia back in 2022. We became fast friends, and it was always great to see her at games when the Sixers were in town, always with a warm smile and a minute or two to chat. Kate's career path and life story is so inspiring. We touched on so many topics during this conversation. I know you will enjoy this episode with Kate Scott, and as always, folks, I'll see you on the backside. Well, hello, Kate Scott. Welcome to the Legends of Sport podcast. So great to see you.
It is great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Wow. So I'm getting you, this is going to air a little bit later, but I'm getting you during preseason of the Sixers season coming up, which I know from my experience, super busy time. So thank you for carving out this time for me, Kate.
Anytime, Andy. Anytime for you.
Yeah. So how you doing? How's things?
I'm doing great. Getting excited about the season.
I
Got
know.
my Allen Iverson shirt on.
I can see that. I'm
Tyrese
excited
Maxey
about
behind me.
the doc that's coming out. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. Have you dealt with him much, by the way, AI?
I have not. I met him at a couple of events, understandably,
Mhm.
with the Sixers, and he has been wonderfully kind to me. But we haven't gotten to have a long conversation just yet. So hopefully in the years to come that'll happen.
Yeah. I shot him his whole career. I don't think I ever had a conversation with him. But I would love to get him on the podcast, especially about this doc, his history with Kobe and all that stuff. So speaking of Kobe, you and I met formally, although I had seen you on the court and stuff and doing your thing. But you and I met formally in 2022, right? It was November. Yeah. We were at Kaiserman Jewish Community Center outside of Lower Merion, which a lot of people don't know that that's where Kobe kind of honed his skills because his dad had the keys to the gym. Right.
Yep.
So Joe was kind of running the athletic program there. Young Kobe would go in there at all times of day and night. And they were doing a fundraiser, and you were kind enough to come and lead a panel discussion with me and Mike Sealski and some really important key people from Kobe's youth. That was a phenomenal event, wasn't it? I mean, you and I never really talked about it afterwards, but it was so. I felt his presence there like I don't think I'd ever felt before.
Yeah, and I'm actually getting chills right now. I'm so glad that we're starting here, Andy, because I'm asked to MC a lot of events or moderate panels, and I usually have an idea of what they're going to be, but you never really know until you get there. So I wasn't really sure. I just knew, hey, I'm the new voice of the Sixers. Kobe's a huge deal here. I knew who you were. Mike had just written his book about Kobe's time at Lower Merion, really all of Kobe's life leading up to the NBA, which I wasn't that familiar with yet, but I knew that a lot of it had taken place in and around Philly, which is home for me now. And I thought this would be a good thing for me to just go to and listen to everyone, because I'm going to get some institutional knowledge about this area and about Kobe, things that I will need moving forward. And also just as a basketball fan, I was interested. And as you said, so many people showed up, which I didn't expect there to be that many people there.
Yeah.
And then so many people who had really deep, close relationships with Kobe when he was a young man. And then all the interactions you had with him during his NBA years. There was tears shed. There was stories that I'd never heard before, which is pretty difficult, somebody of Kobe's stature. You think you've heard kind of everything at this point.
Yeah.
So that was a really special night, and obviously it brought us together officially for the first time.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm so grateful that I said yes and I was there that night.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I'm glad you were there that night too. Just speaking about Mike Sealski for a second, he's a
Yeah.
Philly guy. He wrote this phenomenal book called Rise, and like you said, it was really Kobe's life from birth till the draft. And then our book, Mamba Mentality book, was basically draft through retirement.
Yeah.
So we complemented each other perfectly. I learned so much from his book, and I've had Mike on a couple of times after that. And he wrote this great book about the dunk. I don't know if you read it, but it's phenomenal.
It's on the bookshelf. It's
Yeah.
next up. I'm looking forward to it because, as you said, and
Yeah.
I think I said that night at the panel, I wasn't the biggest Kobe fan. I grew up cheering for the Warriors, so
Sure.
I hated the Lakers and everything about them. I had massive respect for his talent,
Right,
right? But I
right.
mean, he was just cutting the throats out of every single other person in the NBA. So
Yeah.
I hated him. So I loved Mike's book Rise because
Yeah.
it took me behind the scenes of kind of where the Mamba mentality, and he had a difficult time fitting in here, and now being here, seeing where he went to high school and all that, it all he made a lot more sense to me. I always love trying to understand people, right? Not just covering them. I really love the 3D aspect of human beings, not just the basketball player.
Yeah.
Like, what makes them tick? Who do they care about?
Yeah.
What were the difficult challenges they had to overcome that makes this loss not that big of a deal in their real life?
Yeah.
And so Mike let me into that, and then obviously your wonderful book just took it to the next level.
Well, thank you. And I'll have to send you the next book that we worked on with Vanessa Bryant on all the murals all over the world.
Yes.
That honor Kobe and Gigi. In fact, there's a beautiful one. You've probably seen it in Philadelphia,
There is.
where she
Yeah.
actually dedicated a court. So that book comes out on November 18th. So you have to
fantastic.
make more
I
room in
can't
that
wait.
bookshelf for that one.
Andy, for you, I will. Can't wait.
So, Kate, you touched on your hatred for the Lakers, which I respect, being from Clovis, California, which if our audience doesn't know, literally is in the middle of the state. I mean, I don't think
Right
you could
there.
get any closer to the epicenter of the middle of California. So, beside the Warriors, who else did you root for? Who were your teams?
I grew up cheering for the San Francisco Giants
Okay.
and the San Francisco 49ers, and then Fresno State was my college because
Sure.
Fresno is right next to Clovis.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're born in the middle of the state, it really depends on your parents' fandom. So
Right.
my best friend was all the LA teams, Dodgers and Lakers, and I
Wow.
just we just went at it all sports season long.
Mm.
And then my dad raised me to be a fan of the Bay Area sports teams, so it was
Yeah,
it was an interesting time to be fans of all of those teams.
Oh, for sure. Speaking of best friends, I just took my best friend as a diehard Giants fan to
There
a
we
Dodgers
go.
playoff game. I said, dude, just sit there, don't do anything, and please don't wear any Giants gear.
How'd
You
they
know?
do? How'd
Yeah.
they do?
No, he survived. The Dodgers lost
I've
that
been
game.
texting.
So
I've
yeah.
been texting my Dodger fan friends. I hope you lose tonight. Although I'm not a big fan of the Brewers either, so I'm kind of like, I hope both teams lose and
Yeah.
just whoever comes out of the American League win. But
Yeah.
anyway, sports are fun.
Well, we'll see what happens. So I got to find out because I don't think I did a lot of research. I culled your Instagram, the whole thing, but I didn't really uncover where the bug came from to be a broadcaster, to be in front of the microphone. I mean, you talked about, I read about your first jobs, and of course you went to Berkeley. My daughter went to Berkeley, by the way.
Go Bears.
And how you led the crowd, what was it called? Mike Man, who then
I was
became
a
Mike
Mike
Woman.
Man. Yes, Mike Woo Man. They called me the Mike Chick.
And then
which I loved and was totally fine with.
Yeah, I mean, I love going to those Cal games. She was there when Jared Goff was there, so the teams are
fun.
pretty good.
Yeah, I got to experience the Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch time, so I was there during a very fun time for Cal football, which only happens once every 25 years.
That's
so.
right, but you were there and she was there. It was fun.
Good.
And then I guess your big break started when you started getting some work in the Bay Area from some big time stations, right?
Yeah.
So take me through that, because I always like to find out where the person started, and also by the way, where germ of the idea. For me, being a sports photographer started when I was 14. But like, who did you listen to growing up? Like Vince Scully or Chick Hearn or whomever, you know what I mean?
Well, hated those guys, but respected them. Very similar to Kobe. Um, but the thing was, there wasn't, to my knowledge, if social media would have existed, I probably would have known that there was a few women on the other side of the country calling sports and covering sports. But life was much smaller back then, right? If you weren't on one of the major national networks, or you weren't on KNBR, was the sports station I listened to, the 49ers and Giants and Warriors flagship radio station in San Francisco, then I didn't know that there was women covering sports. So I played all the sports, I officiated sports, but I was still planning to go to Cal and just go to school there because I fell in love with it. I visited my freshman year in high school and thought, oh, Berkeley's far out, as the kids back in your day would say. Very different than Fresno Clovis. I'd like something different just to shake things up a bit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was turning in college applications senior year that, shout out to Mr. Schmazel, he pulled me aside and said, hey, Kate, what are you thinking of majoring in college?
Wait, hold on a second. Was that really his name? Because I read that, Mr. Schmazel.
It is, and I'm still in touch with him. We call him Schmaz for short.
Okay. Just a Yiddish thing that kind of came across my...
Totally. And it's such a fun name. I like to throw that into the story. Give credit where credit is due. And he said, what are you thinking of majoring in? And I said, I think I'm just going to go to Cal if I get in and get my teaching credential, because I want to have a positive impact on the next generation. So I'm going to be a teacher. And he said, that's great. Obviously, I've made a life in education. But have you ever thought about sports journalism of some kind? And I said, I don't know. There's not very many women who do that. And he said, I understand, Kate, but you play 4 varsity sports. You are leading cheers at our Friday night football games. You're the editor of sports for our high school newspaper. Like, no one is more involved in sports, man or woman, at our school than you. So maybe just look into it when you get to whatever school you get to. So that planted the seed. And then when I got to Cal, just any time I could, there's a newspaper I can write for about Cal sports. Okay. There's a guy with a camera down at the basketball games. Let me go tap him on the shoulder and see if he needs any interns. Turns out he didn't, but he was wanting to start a student segment on the Cal highlight show then. Would I be interested in doing it? And I just said yes to a lot of things. But I still didn't know what that was going to look like after graduation, because I graduated in 2005 and there was still, I knew of less than 10 women who were covering sports in any fashion. Most were on the sideline. Most, in my opinion, were supermodels, which which was not me. I was the tomboy who still didn't do hair or makeup, just kind of threw my hair back in a ponytail, put on a t-shirt, and went to school every day. So I didn't see how those things were going to connect. And then thankfully, the guy who I tapped on the shoulder at that basketball game, after I graduated, was asked to produce a season of high school football in the Bay Area. I was doing radio traffic reporting at that time. My first gig out of college, big gig. And he said, Kate, I'd like you to call some games for me. And I said, can we cuss on this podcast, Andy? I said, you're full of something.
Yeah, you can.
And I said,
it's not a family show.
I said, I've never called it anything, Paul. I'm going to be awful. It's going to be the worst. And he said, okay, that's probably true. But all the guys who I'm asking have never called anything either. This is where you start, by calling a local high school game that maybe the players and parents will watch. Nobody else. It wasn't HD. It was on some random channel. And he said, if you hate it and you suck, you never have to do it again. But I think you're going to be better than you think. And I think you're going to really enjoy it. So why don't you just give it a try? And Andy, he was right. I loved it. You know, prepped during the week. And then once I got there, it was all the emotions that I used to feel as an athlete in high school, the anxiety, the nerves, but then the excitement, because similar to playing, when you're calling sports, you can have all your prep, but then you just have to look up and call the game. You just have to react to what's happening. And that got me going in a way that writing and reporting and all these other things that I enjoyed didn't hit me the same way. So then I thought, okay, if I can figure out a way to do this, I would love for this to be it. But again, that was a long time ago, and there was very few women doing this then, so the chances were slim.
Isn't it interesting, though, that, I mean, every single person I talked to on this podcast has been 8 years, and myself included. There was a person, a pivotal person, mentor, teacher, could be a parent, could be clergy, didn't matter, who just sort of pointed us in the right direction. I had that.
We all need someone like that.
Yeah, but I talk to youth groups all the time. I'm sure you do. And they roll their eyes when you say the word mentor. They're like an old guy kind of term. But
Yeah.
like Neil Leifer, the great Neil Leifer, the greatest sports photographer in the history of the craft, is still a mentor of mine. 50 years in, I still call Neil when I was working on the book with Kobe, because he had done so many books with Ali and whomever, and to get advice, and still a dear friend. Anyway,
it's so important.
yeah.
And I'm obviously still in touch with them. I've picked up more mentors along the way, and it's really important for me to mentor as well, to pass it on. And there's a woman who I've been mentoring now, and we're to the point, like you, I'm sure, just really friends. But she'd never had a mentor before. And when we first started working together, she said, I don't know what this is supposed to be.
Right.
What am I supposed to do? And I said, well, I don't really know either. Just if you ever have a question, why don't you just reach out? If text is easier, if calling, and we slowly over the years figured it out. And really, she's making waves. She'll be up here soon too. So
that's
mentors
great.
are so important.
Amazing. Hey, by the way, I met one of the greatest early women broadcasters in front of the camera, Leslie Visser, a couple of weeks ago, which I, big fan of her work, obviously, but she was so nice. I met her at a big event. And of course, Doris Burke is one of my great friends. In fact, she and I were given the awarded the Gowdy Award the same year by the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2018. So there's a lot of trailblazers, of which you are one, and I know probably you shudder at that word, right?
I do.
But I got to go back to your Instagram, because I saw a post that you did. It was a while ago, when you quoted Angela Davis, the activist, the great activist Angela Davis, and you said, quote. And it was a beautiful post. You said, "Walls turned sideways are bridges." It was one of her sayings, and that you posted that. So what does that mean for you, Kate? I mean, in terms of your career, let's start with your career, okay? Because there's a lot of walls for women in this business.
Mostly all walls.
Believe me, when I started, I honestly don't remember any women who were in front of the camera, behind the mic. I mean, there are a lot of women in production. So something in you
hasn't been that long,
right? But something in you said, you know what? Screw that wall, right? So where does
somebody give me a sledgehammer?
Yeah, really. So where does that come from? Like, does that come from your childhood or your parents or what?
It is a great question, Andy. Well, I asked my parents this, and I've asked my longtime friends, and their response has always been, "This is who you have always been, Kate. Whatever the challenge was, you never thought that you couldn't do something. You just always said, okay, well, I'm going to try." And that truly is how my career has gone. And I think that is why I've been able to, and I do shudder at the trailblazer in the first, because I think it is really the generation who you mentioned, Leslie and Doris. And I have since come to find out a lot of women did do this. Most of it was one-off, getting to call a game here or there in the 80s and 90s, but social media didn't exist. The internet didn't exist. So we just didn't know their stories. So I think of them as the trailblazers and me as kind of the next in line. But there's still been a lot of things that I've done that no woman had gotten the opportunity to do before me. And I think the reason those things have worked and I have been able to continue pushing forward is that wasn't the goal, right? It was never to be the first. It was never to knock down the wall. The walls just kept showing up, and I just kept putting my head down and going to work. And I think that is why they have come down. And I love that quote, because I know that each thing that I have done and continue to do is about a lot more than me. Because I know that if I succeed, hopefully that will allow others who haven't seen themselves reflected in whatever job it is they want to do, be able to then walk across that bridge that they didn't see before. Because I know for a lot of other people, I'm crazy. and why would I think that I could do something that other people haven't before? And that the whole see her, be her, or see him, be him is true. A lot of people need to see an example before they're going to take that risk and try themselves. So, so I am aware of all that and hope that I have been able to and hopefully continue to be able to do that for lots of folks.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just have to give you some kudos here a little bit, because our audience really
I'll
needs
try
to
to
know.
accept it.
Really
me
needs to know who
uncomfortable,
we're
but I'll
talking to
try.
here. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong on this stat, but you're the only woman play-by-play announcer to call an NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA Division I football, the Olympics, and FIFA World Cup games. I mean, is that
To
accurate?
to my knowledge.
I mean,
To
like,
my knowledge.
what's left? I mean, I don't even know what's left after that.
I mean, I haven't called rugby yet, Andy. I haven't done pickleball, but
Right.
I feel as if those again, getting back to mentees,
Yeah.
I have up and comers who love
Yeah.
those sports, so I'm trying to lift them up. But yeah, it's been a busy 20 years.
It's
that's for
amazing,
sure.
Kate. And then you just recently did the NFL game in Dublin, right? It was
Yeah.
Minnesota, Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
First woman to call an NFL game. Is that true? Or
on very specific
Yeah.
on WestwoodOne, which is the
WestwoodOne.
national radio broadcaster for the NFL during the regular season. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, there's no place to hide on the radio.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you better know the sport inside and out because you need to give me every detail because some people are watching with the TV muted and have the video, but most people are just driving around on a Sunday morning. So if somebody's running over left guard, you better tell them they're running over left guard so they can picture it, right? If they're
Sure.
running down the right hash in between the right hash and the right numbers, you better be able to say that and not stumble because the guys move faster than ever because this is the NFL.
Crazy,
But yeah, it was a wonderful experience, and I'm grateful to Mike Eby and everyone at Westwood for giving me that opportunity.
Yeah, and he had some nice quotes about you. Westwood One was founded by the great Norm Pattis. I don't know if you know that, but Norm was one of my dearest friends, my mentor. Actually put the Legends of Sport podcast on the air on Podcast One when I didn't even know, honestly, what a podcast was. This was, 9 years ago. We lost him and his dear wife, Mary, just way too soon, but just an unbelievable person. You know why Westwood One, by the way, is called Westwood One?
No, I don't.
Because he had a little office in Westwood and he had one employee himself. And it grew to be the biggest syndicated radio network in the world.
That's where it came from.
That's where it came from.
That's what he told me, but I do believe Norm.
Well, even if it's a lie, that is a great story, and I'm gonna spread it now that you've planted that information with me.
Yeah, there you go.
I hope you had some chance to meet him. You probably crossed paths with him when you were doing your open before a game when he was right behind you with the the rolled up program doing his thing. He was just one of the great people of all time. Kate, you talk about all these different sports, and you have to know them inside and out. And preparation, I always talk about with young people, is the key to our success, to what we do, to us being a professional and being and have earned where we are in whatever field we're in sports. I didn't just show up during the anthem, sit down and start shooting, Kobe and Shaq.
You didn't, Andy? Come on.
No.
Yeah, you did.
I
you
mean,
knew somebody. They gave you a camera. You just sat down, right? It was that easy.
No, that would start.
You actually saw me somewhere on the road, and I remember this. I forget where it was, but you walked in, and I was knee deep in all my gear and everything. You just gave me this look like, why are you here at 4:00? It's like almost, why are you here at 4:00? Because we have to get ready.
That was my sarcastic look, Andy.
But I remember going up and shooting photos of Chick when he used to sit way up on the western sideline. Remember, they had that perch.
Yeah.
And he had these cards, these handwritten cards, and you've probably seen photos of them. Maybe you even do it yourself, where he had the most detailed stuff in different pen colors,
Yes. I want to reach out right now. I have a bag of pens that a lot of friends make fun of me for.
Yeah.
I have a very specific pen, size that I appreciate, and I have every single color because that is how I see the world. So the Sixers are opening the season against the Boston Celtics. Their notes will be in green. Our final preseason game is against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Their notes will be in blue.
Yeah.
Right when we play the Chicago Bulls, they're in red. I have different highlighted colors for different teams. But yeah, it is a third grade art project. But I learned early in my career when I was kind of embarrassed by the mess and all the sticky notes. I'm big on colored sticky notes as well. And I was kind of embarrassed, right? You're first starting out and you're thinking, oh, maybe this is too many notes. Maybe I look like a crazy person. And somebody that I respected said, Kate, if this is what works for you, do it. Because
Yeah.
all that matters is how you sound on TV or on the radio. Nobody's going to care about the rest of this. So if it works for you, keep at it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And
Yeah.
I always, people short shrifted Chick because, he of all his chickisms and blah, 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 but he was really prepared. I mean, I saw him hours and hours before game on planes. People took him for granted, but he was amazing. And that's one of the reasons he was great.
Yeah.
So Kate, I want to turn here and also go back to the walls quote where you say walls turn sideways or bridges, and talk about some of the areas that you actually lead the way in advocacy and awareness. One of the areas is in mental health, and here at Legends of Sport, mental health is like top shelf on one of the things we talk about. We've had numerous guests, starting of course with Kevin Love and Dr. William Parnam, former ref Bob Delaney, who you probably know does a lot of work in PTSD. We had a really interesting discussion about mental health during the NBA bubble recently, where I was there for 53 days. It was insane.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people who were there.
Yeah.
And that was a mental struggle for sure.
Yeah,
For a
it
lot of
was. And people don't really realize that, but it really was. And you've talked recently, I saw a great podcast that you did where you talked very openly about depression and anxiety and your family history of that. There's a movie about to come out, which will be out by the time this comes out, about my hero, Bruce Springsteen, and what he suffered with depression and where it came from his, with his family history, with his father. And it's just amazing to me that we're able to talk about all this because, if I go back to the beginning of my career, nobody talked about mental health. If you talked about mental health, you were a wimp. You were sort of shunned, especially, if you were an athlete. I mean, God forbid if you're in the media, but, So you also had this great site that you cited was the TWLOHA. I don't know if that's the actual word, but to write love on her arms.
To write love on her arms. It's an acronym.
Yeah, so talk about it if you could.
Yeah.
If you talk about a little bit about your involvement with that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for talking about this so often on your podcast because I think that this is how we allow more people to feel like they can talk about it by having these conversations. So thank you. But yeah, it's a wonderful organization that talks about it and has resources for people because one of the most frustrating things for me is how expensive mental health care is and how inaccessible it is for a lot of people. And also how difficult it is to find because I'm lucky in that I have parents and a spouse who support me getting help for my mental struggles, just the same way they would with physical. But we know there's plenty of people who aren't that lucky, right? Whose maybe partner or spouse thinks, just work through it yourself, or you're crazy. That's just suck it up and deal with it.
Yeah.
So this is it's a site that allows you to come and feel safe and seen and heard, and kind of just community is so important, I think, when it comes to any struggles, but especially when it comes to mental health care struggles. And yeah, I know that I have a really special platform and I'm so fortunate to have this. So what a waste it would be if I just used it to talk about sports, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. And I think also to deal with some stereotypes that mental health struggles only afflict certain people. Well, Kevin and so many other NBA players have done a good job of saying, no, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how happy and successful other people may think you are. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, what you look like, how tall you are, how good you are at playing a sport. It is something that can impact everybody. So yeah, I just like adding my voice to that because depression has been in my family. My great-grandmother died by suicide. My grandfather dealt with some really serious depression to the point that he was hospitalized when my mom was growing up. My mom, my sister, and I have dealt with depression over the years. I struggle with a lot of anxiety as well. I had a panic attack this morning, just looking ahead to, oh my gosh, I have these podcasts I have to do today, and the Sixers season starts really soon, and I'm calling NWSL soccer, and I have more football on the horizon, and just everything got really overwhelming, and I had a panic attack.
Yeah.
So I just think it's very important to talk about it. It doesn't make it go away, but it does often make it easier when I feel like I'm not alone, and when I let other people know that they're not alone. That usually just takes a little bit of it away, right? It doesn't make it go away completely, but I find that it helps me personally.
Yeah, so eloquent. That's so great. I also know that everything you're saying goes hand in hand with your advocacy for LGBTQ plus rights.
Yeah.
Had the great Jason Collins on the podcast. He was so incredibly informative and open.
Yeah.
And I just love that guy.
He's
And what
great.
he went through, when he came out, oh, you could vault. That was just, but he persevered and he got through it. You talk about acceptance, respect, allyship, and pride, right?
Yeah.
And it's an important thing. I have 4 kids. The last one's a teenager. I'm very aware of what's going on with this younger generation. The fact that that somebody like you, who's in the public eye, can say it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. First of all, it's okay if you're depressed, but it's okay if you're feeling like you can't talk about coming out, whatever.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, really, just a sidebar story.
Yeah.
Do you know the name Maybelle Blair by any chance?
I do, but refresh me on
Okay,
this
so
story.
remember
Why
the
do I know
movie
that name?
A League of Their Own? Remember that movie?
Yeah.
It was about the Women's Professional Baseball League.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Come on.
During World War II, there was a Women's Professional Baseball League because all the men were off, fighting the war.
Yeah.
And, Tom Hanks was in it, Gina Davis. And Madonna played this character called Maybelle. I don't know if she was called Maybelle in the movie, but this is an actual person.
May.
Yeah,
Yes.
Maybelle
way
Blair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's 98 years old. Okay, and sharp as a tack. And she came on the podcast, and she talked about how she came out at 95 years old.
Yes, that's right.
And I looked at her. I said, "What took you so long?" And I thought I was being funny. And she looked at me. She said, "You know what, Andy? I had to wait for my whole family to die." And it was like it just hit me right here. But she was so honest and genuine.
Yeah.
And what an amazing person, Anyway, it's just it's a great episode. I'll send that to you. But she
Please
said
do,
so.
and I remember that now, and I remember why I knew her name. And I think let's jump off of that. That is right there why one of the big reasons that I am out, because some of the negative comments I've gotten over time because I am out is, oh, you're just doing it for attention. And I'm happy to, again, take those slings and arrows because I have so much privilege in this space, right? First of all, I'm a blonde white woman, so there's privilege in that. I have supportive parents. I have supportive in-laws. I have a wonderful wife who I'm so proud of, so there's privilege in that. Little things that I think a lot of people take for granted. A roof over my head, financial stability. So if I were to be shunned by my entire family, I'd still be okay because I have a great wife and a job and all those things, right?
Yeah.
Like simple things that I think a lot of people take for granted. So again, similar to what I said when it came to mental health, how selfish it would be if I didn't use my platform to help other people who maybe don't have as much privilege as me to see that it's okay. It's normal. You can be out and be yourself and still have jobs and a life that is never in your wildest dreams sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not going to be hard, and you might run into a few more hurdles than you would if you were someone else, but you can do it. So that's why I'm out. That's why I post on occasion about my wife when she approves pictures.
No, I love those posts. And your dog, I love your dog.
Your Piper, yeah, because I just early in my career, people there was very few people out. And I got a lot of great messages actually from when I was working at sports radio for like the Giants and 49ers flagship, from parents, a lot of dads saying, "This is really weird. Like I don't know any gay people, but I listen to you every morning on my drive into work, and your life sounds just as boring as my wife's life. Like you and Nicole went to Home Depot over the weekend.
Right.
That's what we did too. You were watching the ball game last night. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this actually doesn't sound that different. You're starting to normalize it for me. And then, other parents driving in with their kids saying, my son just came out to me and we've listened to you for 6 years and you are our talking point that allows us
Wow.
to talk about this at the dinner table. So those are the moments where I know that it's been worth it and that people can say whatever they want about me being out, but that's why I am. And that's why I continue to talk about it, because hopefully it will provide other people, again, with the space to know they're not alone
Yeah.
and to see that good things can happen, even if they don't feel like they're in that space right now.
Oh, I love that, Kate. That's so great. You're in a tough town in Philly. I mean, Philly. I'm just thinking the Philly fans are insane. Yeah, and
Philadelphia, it's an easy town.
acceptance in Philly might not be like top line item, but kudos to you, man. That's incredible. We've become very good friends with a woman named Jack Steiner, who owns the first women's sports bar in Los Angeles called Watch Me Sports Bar. Are you familiar with Watch Me?
I am, yes.
So we've done podcasts there. We've done events there. She's amazing, relentless. I know that you are still involved in raising money, crowdfunding.
Yes.
What's the latest on this all women's sports bar in Philly? Is there something new to tell us?
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And yes, I'd like to point to the bumper sticker here that I have behind me that says Philadelphia, where the weak are killed and eaten. Thanks to Ralph, who makes those bumper stickers here in Philly. I saw it on a car
I love it.
a year ago, and I about crashed my car. I was laughing so hard.
Yeah, I love it.
So yes, it is a difficult town, but a great town once you win most of it over.
For sure, yeah.
A couple of women's sports bars are coming to Philly. One just recently opened, Marsha's on South Street,
Okay.
which is an ode to Marsha P. Johnson, the incredible activist who was a big part of Stonewall and did such great things for the LGBT community in her time. So it just opened, and people are raving about it. Just the space and the community and the inclusivity of it.
Yeah.
And then I'm good friends with Jen Leary and the folks at Watch Party, PHL,
Right.
who have been putting on watch parties for the past year plus. Anytime there was a big women's sports match, whether it was in the WNBA, NWSL, the Rugby World Championships that just happened, they would say, hey, let's meet at this bar, because they didn't have their own space yet, and let's turn it into our place. And they've created a wonderful following, and now they're going to turn that into their own bar in 2026. So yeah, I've been a part of helping them crowdfund, posting every once in a while.
Great.
And they're doing fantastic with their fundraising. So Marsha's is already open. You can check them out.
I'll check it out when I come to Philly.
That's the other one that's going to be opening next year. And just great groups of people, because it takes a village to get things to happen.
1,000,000%.
So it's been great to see them grow.
Well, you have an open invitation from Jax at Watch Me, from me.
Yes.
I looked at the Sixers schedule. You have a little day here and there when you're in LA, and you play both teams.
Let's do it.
I think it's in February. Let's just go down, have a drink, whatever. We don't have to do anything crazy, but she would love to meet you, of course. And
I would
it's a
love that
great
as well.
great spot in Long Beach. So yeah,
Let's do it.
absolutely. Kate, I'm going to let you go because I know that you got to get yourself, like in the
More
whole
prep.
thing. You got to get your Mamba mentality ready. And it's just been such a pleasure to get to know you. And like I said, I want to go back to that first meeting at Kaiserman, and then just seeing you at games, and you were always, a lot of people are like in their zone, and I'm not going to say bad things about anybody, but some people just don't say hi, or they're just in their thing. You always say hi. You always come over. You always like a little hug, whatever it is, and my line of work that used to go a long way, and it's just great that we could connect here on the podcast. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Andy, thanks for having me. It was a joy to meet you. Gosh, I can't believe it's been 3 years, but it was a joy to meet you.
Yeah.
Because you are the author and artist of so many amazing photos that I had in my room in Fresno and Clovis growing up. So to get to meet you was wild.
Oh,
And then
that's
to
sweet.
not surprisingly find out what an amazing human you are. It's been great to stay in touch. So I
Well-
look forward to seeing you again in February when hopefully my Sixers beat the snot out of the teams in LA.
Yeah, I think you like sandwich the Warriors in between. I think the Lakers and Clippers
Yeah,
are
we
one
have
of
to
the,
leave.
which
So
is
we're playing
weird.
the Clippers, and then we fly up to the Bay and we
Yes,
come back
you-
down.
you
So
come back
we'll
down.
get our frequent flyer
All right, but
miles
you
this
you
week.
will see me in February without a camera because the camera is like over there somewhere now. but at some point, and hopefully you'll have a little bit of time to go down to watch me because it would be really great to have you there. So
I would love that.
All
I would
right,
love
cool.
that. Thanks for having me on, Andy. It's
all
great
right,
to
good
see
luck
you.
with everything, Kate. See ya.
Back at you.
Bye. Well, a big thanks to Kate for taking the time as the NBA season is starting to chat with me on this episode. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Good luck to her and her Sixers in the upcoming season. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this episode of the podcast. We are thankful to all our loyal followers. Please tell all your friends, folks, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legends of Sport, and our Instagram at Legends of Sport. And, of course, my photography can be found on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Thanks, as always, to our producer, Carlin Barker, and our editors, Sean Gosser and Addison Shao. Folks, please check out the discount link in our social media to our friends at Muggsy. We love, love, love Muggsy's clothes. Thanks again, folks. We'll be back next week for another great episode on the Legends of Sport podcast.